Welcome to Lanterns Live, the only live stream YouTube channel dedicated solely to the Green Lantern universe. I'm Ralph, and I'm joined by Allison Troy. Oh, this way.
Hello. Let me
Allison
sit up
Troy.
a little bit more.
How you doing? From Retro
Retro
Sorry.
Toy Princess. Yeah.
I think saying your name and then getting into your channel title tripped me up.
Anytime I record a voiceover that Allison Troy Retro, I didn't think that one through.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just call you Allison.
Yeah,
and then just leave it at that. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I reached out to a bunch of people looking to have new folks on the show. As much as I love having Will and Vactor on like all the time, right. I wanted fresh faces.
Yeah.
And you sort of reached out and kind of scared me at the same time,
right? Because
you said you had very, very, very strong opinion. Or not, I probably added an extra very, but the way my brain took it was all negative. Where you said you had very strong opinions about Green Lantern, and I got scared because I'm like, I do too, but I of course my brain gets a little pessimistic sometimes, so I was like afraid, but. Before we get into all of this, because really, basically, this is going to be sort of like one of my spotlight fan interviews, but I just did one last week. There's no new Green Lantern issues that came out this week other than, like, I think, Absolute Green Lantern, which I'm not reading yet. But I wanted to do something, and so you mentioned that you had stopped reading Green Lantern for a while. I'm like, perfect. This will be a good show for people to like if they want to jump back on board or if they just want to start reading Green Lantern in general. But
I stopped reading all comics for a long time, so
that happened to me. It happened to me around after high school. For me, I left for a while. I think probably like 9 years.
Oh my gosh!
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a while. But before we get into all of that, I ask this of all my guests the first time they're on. Your secret origins, what's the earliest memory you have of the character Green Lantern in general?
Oh, yeah. No, that one's technically kind of easy. Gen X, right?
Right.
Star Wars Generation kid. So it was either a Challenge of the Super Friends or my dad was in college in the late 70s, early 80s. He graduated in 1980, so late 70s. He worked his way through college at doing a night shift at 7-Eleven, and a lot of people don't know this. Back when comic books were at the newsstand, at the end of the month when it was time to clear the the rack off or whatever, you just went through and you got all the old comics and you stripped the cover, you mailed the cover back, and then you were supposed to throw the comics out. Well, obviously we were kind of poor at the time, so my dad would just bring stacks of comics home. So it would have, sort of around the time of Challenge of the Super Friends, it would have been like Justice League or maybe even a Green Lantern issue at the time. Before and after the implosion, he's still being published. So it wasn't, that hazy time. I don't remember being as enamored because Star Wars and Wonder Woman were everything for me.
Right.
And it's like, who's this green guy, like, with the ring and the weird aliens? So that was sort of my first encounter. I do remember him visually being really striking, and my mom was a big fan. My brother's actually named after 60s folk singer Donovan. So there was also the fact that Sunshine Superman played all the time at our house. Even before my brother was born in like 1980. So like, from that, I also was aware of Green Lantern. So he was like always there, but not really present, if you will.
I wish there was I've been thinking about this ever since I started the channel. Was like, how do I do an episode that addresses Sunshine Superman? Because it's such a weird lyric.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess Green Lantern is 3 syllables, but Wonder Woman wouldn't fit that. Batman wouldn't fit that.
Well, in the year he wrote that, like, it's not like I have Google pulled up all the time. So really quickly, let's just
see when he wrote it. Did he write it around the time of like Showcase 22 or Green Lantern?
Yeah, right. Well, and
feels like it.
I deep dived on this before for that exact question. So I feel like that's what it was. He just grabbed whatever comic books were around, and that was one of them.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's something I could do as like a short on my channel. But I'm so bad at producing shorts. I can't stand it. StreamYard, which is what I use to stream the shows, does this sort of AI thing where it grabs clips that they think might be sort of good as shorts, and they send me those. And every once in a while, there will actually be a good one that I then just strip apart and make my own short out of it instead of using their weird sort of
all right. So just
that they use.
Just for your starting point, the song was released in 1966. July 1st, 1966. It was recorded December 19th, 1965. So I just quickly typed in Green Lantern 1965.
I should probably know this.
Around issue 4, like it looks like issue.
Okay, so Showcase 20, so Showcase 22, 23, and 24 out, and there are like 4 issues into Green Lantern.
It looks like around 39 issues of Green Lantern in 1965, so it was a ways into it. But he was also, I mean, like, I think this is lost on, I mean, not me, because again, I've got this brain, and this willingness to go down a rabbit hole at like 2 a.m. when I should be in bed 3 hours ago. But Green Lantern was one of the biggest sellers of the Silver Age. Like, he was intensely popular until he wasn't, right?
Right. And I mean, that's kind of like, he was, I think, the second after Barry Allen, right?
It was Barry Allen and Green Lantern.
It was like it was like Silver Age was like just starting. And so, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a really curious line. I wonder if Donovan was a fan.
I want to say that on CBR, back when they used to do Comics Myths Debunked, I read an article on there that said that he grabbed a couple comics that they had sitting around the studio. Like, obviously he had the Superman part, but like this Green Lantern was sort of in the studio and somebody was either reading it or it was well read or something. I could be misremembering that. It's been a few years. But I feel like it was something like that, where it's like he was really popular at the time, so... You know,
Liz is in the chat. Liz keeps talking about missing live streams. I did a sort of impromptu live stream on, I think it was Monday.
I saw that.
I was just trying it out, and it's basically a ploy for people to like hit the bell icon, because like this is a live show, and I know I kind of do my weekly schedule, my Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, but like, with all the Lantern stuff coming up, I'm like, I really want to like be able to just jump in and do something like as it happens. Yeah. And so it's kind of a test run, and I think it went well. Also, there's another fun thing that I want to bring up. That's basically me trying to push memberships onto my viewers on the channel. If you want to join at the membership level, about a month ago, I did a short that WB blocked. Worldwide. It was first blocked in America, and then it was blocked worldwide. And they said something. Apparently I struck a chord. It didn't say what exactly I did or showed or said or whatever. It just said the entire thing, copyright, get it down as fast as we can. It's down. And I may or may not have had a discussion with them since.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that since I have this membership program set in place, and since I want to like entice more people to join, it's only like 99 cents a month.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to do a live stream in the coming days that you can join that live stream behind the paywall and maybe watch that short with me. And I could discuss the thing that I think they wanted it taken down for, because it's gone around online. someone got a screen grab of my short, and it was a production hat that Damon Lindelof gave the crew of Lanterns. And I think they didn't want that out there. And so I might just do a live stream, like a short live stream in the coming days about, I'm going to show the hat behind the paywall. And we're going to talk about that short. So I posted a post. I did a post right before we went live, and it only went out to members. So all three of you.
All three of you.
So if you decide that you want to hear more about this hat, or see the hat, or anything like that, discuss what I discussed on the short, or maybe even see that short, join the membership. Just right below the video on YouTube, it'll say join. It's 99 cents a month. There's also a $5 one, but I don't think anyone's ever going to take that. But if you do, you're going to be my best friend. So I'm hoping that I can get more. I have time right now to do live streams, because it's the easiest thing to do, because it requires no editing, no anything. This is now on YouTube. So,
live is easy.
Yeah.
And they didn't say exactly why they wanted to block it.
No, it just said that it was using their copyrighted material. It felt like a very automated system sort of thing, which is fine. But it did allow me to sort of have a reason to reach out to their team. And then I got in touch. So I got in touch with like WB, and WB's like, oh, okay, let me put you in touch with the Lanterns team. So now, like, I wanted the short to do really well, because I knew that nobody else had seen this production hat. The thing is, though, like, but even though it got blocked, it kind of helped me in a different way by getting in touch with them. So now I can, if there's anything sort of dicey, I know who to talk to first before I do it.
Before you jump on.
So there's that. But unless they're a member, they're not going to see this video or this live stream that I want to do about this whole subject. So,
if it's behind like a paywall or unlisted, it's a lot easier to get that stuff through. So
yeah, and it's not like, I feel like there's pictures of the hat out there.
Oh yeah,
I have a hunch, because that's you cannot do that. That's already out there. Like this John Campea guy posted about it. Of course, didn't mention my page. But it went out to like his 360,000 followers. So yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I'll see what happens, but
it'll work out.
Yeah, basically, I just want to play nice with them, so that when the time comes for press junkets and stuff, like I'm included. My friend Will Smith of the Green Lanterns podcast was just in LA at like the Pluribus, some Pluribus like event for the Apple Plus TV show. I don't really know much about it other than it's Vince Gilligan and Rhea Seehorn, and it sounds cool. But I want to do that for like Lanterns. So even if I'm not sitting in the press junket, I want to be invited to like the premiere on the lot, on the Warner Brothers lot, and stuff like that. And since I'm in Anaheim, like they don't even have to fly me. Like just you know,
right? You can just
get me in there.
Down.
Yeah, totally. Allison does not work for DC as far as I know.
No.
Allison has a YouTube channel. I actually don't know like what you do for work, but I know Retro Toy Princess on YouTube. I really want to be on your show.
We will make it happen. It's just our schedules are sort of
So I have you probably can't see it under there. My board game Fireball Island, which is a board game Milton Bradley from 1986, and every Sunday since lockdown started, I play Fireball Island via Zoom with a group of friends, and we're still playing for like, I don't know, it's been like 5 years now, and it always happens during your live streams. So I'll have to find a time.
Yeah, I remember we had that
find a time.
Well, also though, you know, we all know how YouTube is. Like, if you take a week off, they punish you. But I need to occasionally take weeks off because, life.
Right.
So you're on my list of people. Next time I have some time to sort of set up a pre-record that I'm going to reach out to you so that we can schedule that.
Yeah, because I enjoy watching you do streams where you do you color pages. And it's mostly like a lot of retro stuff.
I try to, like obviously retro Toy Princess. I try to stick to retro, but ironically, like it's 2025, so and technically based on how vintage and retro works, things through 2010 are technically retro now. So every year more stuff becomes retro and vintage, no matter what anyone wants to say.
Do you know of any like Green Lantern centric coloring books? Were there some released for the movie?
There, as far as I can tell, there were not. There were a few activity books, but none. I've got a couple like superpowers things. I've got some. There was in 2008, DC did a couple sort of DC superhero coloring books that had a lot of Green Lantern in them. I've got a short that will be dropping at the end of the month that has Kyle Rayner in it, from his like 2008-ish costume. So I've got that dropping pretty soon. I was hoping to try to schedule it closer to this, but I do everything so far in advance that by the time I sat down to do it, I'm like, earliest open date is like the end of November. So, but yeah, Liz, to Liz's question, it's probably just because I have all these. And this is just what you can see behind me. Also, like, Gail Simone is one of my favorite people, and I may or may not crib some of her style because she's so cool. And I allegedly live in the same part of Oregon that Gail Simone lives in. I can neither confirm nor deny because I'm not going to dox either of us, but possibly.
Right. But you ever put yourself in a position to be, like, near where she might be?
I wouldn't. It's really. I used to have a stalker. So before stalker, yes, I would 100%. I went to Chicago one time, and we drove by Liz Fair's parents' house because Liz Fair was my favorite. Then I had a stalker, and then I'm like, I'm good. So I try to give celebrity. A couple of my favorite celebrities have moved to Oregon and various places, like. This is definitely not Green Lantern, but I don't know if you ever watched General Hospital, but there used to be a character on there, Amy, and she is the sister of Laura Spencer, Luke and Laura. And the actress moved to Oregon, and I would run into her all the time at Powell City of Books when I lived in Portland. And every time I would go out of my way to pretend I didn't know who she was because I didn't want to interrupt. She was often there with handsome young men, so I'm like, she's got her game on right now. But I try not to, once you've been.
I was at a thing recently, and Steve Agee was there, and totally in a position to just like hang out and chat. But I didn't want to be that guy.
It's really hard when you they used to do Wonder Woman Day in Portland at Excalibur Comics. Best comic book shop in Oregon. If you're in Portland, go to Excalibur. Family owned for 50 years now. They opened a little bit longer. I think they opened a year or two before I was born, so definitely 50 years or older. But they would do Wonder Woman Day. So through that, they would have comic creators. So I got to meet Adam Hughes, Gail Simone, she would come even before she wrote Wonder Woman. Aaron Loprestri, I think that's how you say his last name, who allegedly is not a nice person, but he was very delightful. Did I mention Phil Jimenez? Phil Jimenez was there. I got some Donna Troy art from both of those guys. Adam Hughes, I just got a Diana. So anyway,
I worked at a comic book store in Orange County, and the day that Blackest Night came out, we had a big launch event. And Jeff Johns was coming to our store.
Yeah.
in the afternoon. And so he was basically there when we closed the store, and then we were going to go have dinner afterwards. And so that was like the one time where like I was sitting right across from him at dinner, and he was totally nice and cool.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't something where I like really needed to talk to him about comics, because I feel weird, like that's his job.
Right.
But he asked what I was reading, and I tried to convince him to read Invincible. And I'm hoping he eventually got to that point, because I told him, I said, you kind of gotta like get through the first trade. Once you get through the first trade, you understand what this thing is. And he's like, oh, that's a lot to ask. I'm like, I know, but it's really good. And I'm assuming by now he has had to have read it.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't imagine.
I'm sure he has. But
at some point,
that was cool.
Production company was like, we should look into this before it was adapted elsewhere.
Yeah. And then with like Steve Agee, I was just like, I didn't even want to talk to him about like Peacemaker or anything like that, because it was like a week after the finale.
Yeah.
And I really was like kind of nervous, and I just wanted to talk to him about his photography.
Right.
That's all I want. And it's so stupid, because I know that I should have. That like that's the thing. Like everybody's gonna want to talk to him about like John Economist and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt so stupid. I should have just sat next to him and just let him know that I really enjoy his photography. I'm sure he would have been so happy to talk about that instead of like anything else. So, and what are you going to do? Well, I'm sure I'll see him again at some point.
Oh, at some point, yeah. I mean, that's the thing with Gail Simone. At some point, she and I will like
cross paths
in a capacity where it would be appropriate to be like, oh my God, let's talk about comic stuff. She doesn't do a lot of podcasts and whatnot, but she does from time to time. So at some point, my goal is to get big enough with my channel that I can be like, hey, Gail, why don't we color some like Black Canary or Huntress or something.
That might be something that would like entice her to show up, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a really relaxing show.
Well, not only that, but I have a fun hook. It's also whenever if the conversation's not good, like there's at least something happening so that you can
Right.
I've only had one guest where there was just zero chemistry, and luckily we had the coloring to like where I could just slip into, okay, well now here's what I'm doing. This is my technique. Anyway.
That's the thing too. So like I've thought about it a lot, and I'm like, okay, I want to go on Allison's show, but how am I going to set up my phone so that you can see my page as well?
Some of my guests don't set up that. And
I know, but I want to come like fully prepared. And then I'm mortified because my hands are like super like Wolfman hairy. I keep my nails in pretty good shape, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's gonna
you become hyper aware. Yeah, it's weird because that's why I started doing my nails all the time. Was they were on camera, and I was like, I did a few videos I recorded without proper nails, and it was like it bugged me to look at them. So I'm like, no, I'm just gonna. They're acrylic, so you can't do acrylic. Not that anyone cares, but this is behind the scenes of Allison Troy, Rich. But you can't do acrylics all the time because it's bad for your nails. So there's like a 2-week period every month where I don't film any content. It's like having a real production schedule where it's like my hands are just. And if I do a live stream, it's just like, well, just keep my hands down here. So
that's so funny. Yeah, I usually like if I'm not doing a show, my cheeks right here. I mean, they're kind of getting like filled in right now. But I shaved these on Monday because I did that impromptu live stream, and then the nose hairs. Like when I put a video out and I could see, because I'm an old man and the white hair on my beard also applies to my nose, and it just looks like I have a booger, and it drives me nuts. And once it's out there, and I'm like screwed. So the show's kind of been keeping me more aware of that to like make sure like I'm good to go, because heaven forbid like this channel like grows to a point where I have like where I'm like doing these things in 4K and
oh my god,
like multi-camera setups and stuff. Like that's kind of my goal, is to be like a really
there,
cool like Green Lantern show. And so I'm just like mortified at stuff like that. Let's talk about comics. Now you said you dropped off of all the comics.
I did. So my comics origin was sort of mentioned. My dad would bring them home. Always, though, Wonder Woman and Star Wars was my first real comic. Again, the 70s Star Wars.
Right. I was born in 77.
So okay, like, so
Linda Carter, Star Wars, Incredible Hulk.
I mean, the Hulk show was fine, but I didn't really get it. I didn't get into a lot of Marvel. I was pretty much
scared me.
DC girl from day one. It was like, Wonder Woman, Supergirl. Those are sort of my characters. I did have a few Spider-Woman comics, and I do remember my uncle, who was really into disco, bringing me Dazzler. But then, I was really into toys, and then of course Superpowers started coming out, and as soon as I saw that Wonder Woman, my childhood one was right there, in the corner. Yeah, right. Yep, that's her. 1984, y'all. My brother's first superpower figure he found was Green Lantern, so that sort of reignited. And they came with the little comic books, and it worked, I'm sure, the way DC hoped it would, where my brother and I started looking for comics. And I was like 10, 11 at the time. Yeah, 84, I would have been 10. So it was also to the point, it's not, obviously I'm an adult collector, but there was that sort of like, when you get older, you don't get toys anymore. And at 10 was when my parents were like, toys aren't forever. But comic books were. So I started, DC was doing Crisis on Infinite Earths. Who's Who was great because it's like, it was $1.25, which was expensive for a comic, but you got 31 pages, no ads, and every entry was like 20 stories. And then the Green Lantern, the G issue came out with like Jon Stewart, both of the other green, Golden Age, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner dropped in the like one of the updates, but it had the spread of the Green Lantern Corps with all of the characters, and there were women. And I was like, oh, wait, there are girl Green Lanterns, too? I'm like, okay, Green Lantern's more interesting. Because for me, that was always what it was. I was always drawn to the women characters in comics and in toys. And so once I realized there were girl Green Lanterns, I'm like, okay, well, I guess. So I started picking up here and there Green Lantern. It was around the time Arisia got her wish to be older so that she could date, which is weird when you look back at it. But and then Justice League and Justice League International with Guy Gardner, and I was just in it like through high school. Like no matter what, that comic books were sort of, my escape from the world. And then and a lot of Green Lantern stuff also came because they did the Millennium, that miniseries with the Manhunters. So there was more Green Lantern lore in that, the first version of the New Guardians. So it just sort of Green Lantern was a little bit more present because of those things. And my senior year in high school was the year that Perez left Wonder Woman. They killed Dove horribly. One of the worst comic book deaths ever. Justice League. Yeah. International suddenly got dark and they had breakdowns. The Titans hunt had been going on for years. And then they took Donna Troy's powers so she could have a baby. And I was just like, I'm out. And I took like 2 or 3 years off of comics. And then got back in when Byrne took over Wonder Woman. And then Justice League hit. And that's how I found out there was a new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. And then eventually he and Donna Troy started dating. So I was way Team Kyle for a long time. And then didn't get out of comic books after that until the New 52 killed it for me. Yeah. And I haven't really been back yet. So
yeah. So with the New 52, it's funny because I was talking to Jeremy Adams, who writes the current Green Lantern, about the New 52 when it happened. Everyone read the Justice League. It started with that, Johns and Jim Lee and stuff, and it was fine. It was like a reboot origin story.
Yeah.
Green Lantern #1 in the New 52 was basically just this exact same story that kept on going. And I feel like it's so funny that Green Lantern was kind of reboot proof. Like it is almost like the regular Green Lantern title was just the same thing that started with like Rebirth and has been up until like, Grant Morrison's run. But even then it kind of sort of, you can probably shoehorn it in somehow. But the Green Lantern continuity has kind of been going since Rebirth. And but I think it's really funny that like sort of what they were doing in like Justice League with Hal Jordan felt like a completely different person than what was currently happening. Like those timelines didn't intersect, and I don't know why.
Well, and for me, New 52, obviously I have decades and decades and decades of continuity that lives in my head.
Right.
And at first I was crusty about it. But then I remembered, I'm like, well, I was around for Crisis. I mean, it was a little different. I wasn't as invested in the history. Part of why I really got in after Crisis was all of the continuity was pretty new. So it was a lot easier to get into it because they were reintroducing characters and they were doing these new takes. Wonder Woman started over from issue 1. So it's like the origin is fresh. We're getting rid of stuff that doesn't work. But then I remember that and I'm like, well, New 52 could be cool because I have at this point sort of forgotten a bunch of continuity. And then what happened was just everything was too dark and too gritty. Like,
right.
Wonder Woman has a dad and the Amazons are murderers and essaying men and killing the men babies or sending them to hell. Yeah, it was too much. Like, it was clear that like a man was writing Wonder Woman with like an agenda. And Jeff Johns, like, despite his Green Lantern goodness and Aquaman goodness, was like, people can't relate to Wonder Woman because she doesn't have a dad. I'm like, that's just BS. Like, you can't relate to her because you have a dad or whatever. Yeah. But
I don't have that.
And with Green Lantern, it was kind of because it didn't reboot. I know this sounds like the cringiest of the cringiest fans. Like, I felt really resentful about Green Lantern sort of getting to continue with its continuity and not.
And because Jeff Johns was sort of running everything,
the architect of it,
he decided, oh, well, no one could touch my Green Lantern.
Right.
Everything else is sort of expendable and can
and it just,
like, I totally get that.
And that's sort of also when Jeff Johns, I feel like he was a really good writer in the beginning, like Stargirl, well, like Star Spangled Kid originally, then but his JSA run, like, he did a lot of really good work. And then around the time of like Blackest Night was really good.
That was like peak, I think.
And at the end of Brightest Day, and this is my controversial comics opinion. At the end of Brightest Day, DC should have just stopped and let everything rest for when I say rest, like no big crossover. We didn't need Final Crisis. We didn't need Countdown to Final. We didn't need Final Crisis at all. We didn't need Flashpoint. Like, all of it was too much. And then you throw the reboot in on top of that. I felt very cynical and very jaded. And then I tried to come back during, Convergence, when like the continuity started coming back.
Where the New 52 was a creation of Dr. Manhattan.
And it was like all
folding the old continuity back in with the New 52 and stuff.
And it was like they were trying too hard when all they really needed to do was just not give us a story about why it was and just start reprinting, just bring back the old content. Like, they literally could have just started telling stories, and they had to make a big. It was, to me, it was sort of hubris on like DC Comics' part, where they're like, the New 52 was so amazing that we have to make an even more amazing story to explain why it's going away, when it's like, we all kind of got tired of the New 52 because it wasn't working. And that, like, I gave it like, I think my last issues of the New 52 were like issues like 36.
Oh wow!
So I got pretty
deeper
far
than I did.
Yeah, it's like 3 years. And my mom also died that year. It was like 2013. So my mom died. I was traveling back and forth between Oregon and the South to help, before she died, to see her before she, then she dies, then to help my dad. Then for it's a lot. And just sort of trying to stay up on comics, and then realizing, one, the pile kept growing bigger and bigger. And when I would sit down and read it, I hated everything I was reading, and there was no joy in it for me anymore. Right. So I'm like, I just need to get out.
So have you been completely out since then?
I say complete. I have bought a bunch of, like, Star Wars Marvel rebooted, like, in 2015. So I've done a bunch of the collections. I haven't done monthly issues. And I have a couple of the Wonder Woman, the post-rebirth issues with, like, Greg Rucka. I picked up some of those. Some of those were okay, but I don't like Greg Rucka's. I think he's a great writer, but I don't care for how he writes Wonder Woman. He makes her too idealistic in a way that I find gross. She doesn't get to be like a woman. She has to be like this goddess or whatever. A lot of men do this with Wonder Woman, but
I can't even imagine writing Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's not easy, and it's like you can tell by how unevenly and how badly she's been written over the years. And ironically, I picked up some issues last time I was in Portland about a month or two ago. I got a bunch of Tom King Wonder Woman, which allegedly, according to the internet, he's the worst writer ever.
Right. And he's, yeah.
It's okay. Like, I've read a couple of the Wonder Woman issues, and, like, they're okay. He's also revitalizing one of the most obscure and one of my most favorite obscure Wonder Woman villains from, like, the 60s, the Mouse Man. And he's done something cool. I don't like how he's writing Diana, but he's made Mouse Man cool. And I have some Nubia issues that I need to read. I didn't get it, and I got Wonder Girl, Yara Flores, which those were really, I tore through those. I read those in a sitting. And after I read those, and I read the Tom King stuff, that his Wonder Woman sucked, his Mouse Man did not, but again, that's a problem. I was like, maybe I should start picking up more comics than just these. And that was right when you said you were looking for people who weren't typically on here. And I've not joined any of the Green Lantern stuff because I'm not reading comics. It feels, anytime you're like, who wants to come on? I was like, well, it feels weird to say that because I don't want. Also, I like the Ryan Reynolds movie a lot. So sue me, guys. I know that's
for me. Listen, here's the thing. The Ryan Reynolds movie, everything that's in it, I like.
Yeah.
It compared to what Jeff Johns was doing at the time, it lacks that scope.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels like a Cliff's Note version of Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's the it also has in general what my overall complaint is with most superhero movies post MCU. It feels like every movie this actually goes back to like Batman Forever or Batman Whatever, as I called it when I left the theater in 1995. Is that they want to put too many characters into it. It's like you have Hector Hammond, you have Sinestro, you have Parallax, you've got Carol Ferris, you've got Amanda Waller, you've got to do Albin Sur, and you have to do an origin story. It's like it's just too much. So
I watched Batman Forever the other night, just out of nowhere. I decided to give it a shot, and I gotta say, listen, I'm in the same boat. I was 12 when Tim Burton's Batman came out. No, I was 13 when Tim Burton's Batman came out. And I just like that Batman Forever was just like a piece of shit. Like it was just
love
garbage.
Batman Returns so much. Like, that came out right after I graduated high school, and it was Catwoman. I was like, I need to become a ambivalent, dubiously chaotic person with like a black leather cat suit and terrorizing evil men. I'm like, that's a goal. But
I'm not suggesting it. I'm not recommending it. But when I watched Batman Forever a few nights ago, I appreciated it more than I ever had before. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it got better. There was just things in it that I appreciated more after, the last 30 years of other stuff that's out there.
I feel like
there's a definitely vision. It's a weird vision, but it's a solid vision of a crazy director.
I rewatched it about 10 years ago, and my impression was about the same. And I remember it was one of the last movies we went and saw as a family. Our last family movie, my parents, my brother, and I, was South Park, bigger, longer, uncut. But one of our last movies before I moved away was Batman Forever. And I remember we reached a point where it felt like because it goes on and on and on, right? Where my mom leaned in and was like, if Nicole Kidman becomes Batgirl, I'm going to scream. I can't sit through this anymore. And I was like, me too. And this is as a Batgirl fan,
it goes on.
Because it just kept going. And Chase Meridian, we didn't really need. I think it was even Chris last time he joined me for an episode. We were talking about how she was just there to take her clothes off and be sexy or whatever.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. Something that I realized this time, now being an old fart, I didn't get this when I first saw it in my early 20s. Or I must have been, 18 or something when that movie came out. He really is not into Chase Meridian at all. Mm-hmm. She's throwing up all the green lights to here we she's in his face, uses the bat signal to call him on the roof. She's wearing lingerie with a little a little coat over her shoulders, and she's there's a shot where their mouths are this close together and he's nothing.
Yeah.
And then 2 minutes later, he's bringing in Robin into his home.
Right.
And it's so I felt like it was so much more on the nose seeing it as a 48-year-old man.
Well, I think though,
than when I was a 22-year-old boy.
Right. I think though, if Michael Keaton had come back, that all would have played differently, because you would have been able to rationalize, oh, well, he just clearly misses Selena Kyle, right? Because the goal was she would be off and she would do a solo movie or two that was just Catwoman, and they would all converge again, right?
Right.
So if it had been Michael Keaton to Chase Meridian, his disinterest would have made way more sense, because it's easier to do that connection of oh, Selena, right? The last time he got involved with the woman, look how bad it was. But instead, it's Val Kilmer. And as attractive as Mr. Kilmer was in his heyday, R.I.P. Val, he doesn't have a ton of chemistry with most of the actresses he was paired with. And I adored, that was my favorite era of Nicole Kidman. To Die For with Nicole Kidman is one of my all-time favorite films.
I went to see that movie just because of her.
I went to see that 3 times at the theater because... One, I wouldn't sell those kind of movies. I worked at Blockbuster, so I would go see cool stuff that, needed somebody to spend $5 at the theater. But then I was like, I think Suzanne is my hero, which is really messed up when I think about it. But so Nicole Kidman was fangirling here. I loved her. And, so the fact that the character fell so flat, despite at the time she was one of my favorite actresses, is telling, right? But again, if that had been Michael Keaton, I think that all would have played. And now it just looks he's totally into Robin. So.
Yeah.
It's
Robin to stay. It was really funny to me. I'm not saying to go give it a shot, but yeah, other than I feel like Jim Carrey should have played Edward Nygma more subtle before turning into the Riddler and getting everybody's brains in his brains. Yeah. That would have been better, but he's already over the top before he becomes the Riddler. So it's there should be that change. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about books.
That. Well, obviously,
because I have some recommendations for anybody who, this is going to be real quick. Anybody who want to get into Green Lantern, read the first story in Showcase 22.
Right.
I think it's a great place to start, and then you could pretty much go anywhere from there. I always suggest watching or reading Justice League New Frontier, which is Darwin Cook's. I don't know if you're familiar with New Frontier. But
ironically, I never read that one. I've got...
It's wonderful.
Somewhere I have the Showcase Presents from like 2000 and whatever, the black and white phone book, Silver Age Green Lantern, with I've got all of the old stuff. Well, yeah.
So if you're, I don't know if you are you familiar with New Frontier? Like what?
I remember it coming out and not. For whatever reason, I never read it, and I can't tell you why, other than I can't tell you. At the time, I wasn't into sort of the whole retroness of it. I know that sounds weird, but it's a Wonder Woman thing. Also, I'm very peculiar about, and part of this is because Alex Ross, Kingdom Come. I'm sorry, Wonder Woman and Superman as a couple will always be gross. Right. Always. I'm sorry. No matter how good Kingdom Come is. Diana as it's depowered. There's a specific reason the Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman dynamic works. But I'm willing to New Frontier. I need to get back in. So
the fun thing with New Frontier is it takes place during the McCarthy era.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of history in there, and it's basically bridging the gap between the Golden Age and the Silver Age.
Right, and it's not
using history, and so Superman's a holdover, Batman and Wonder Woman are a holdover. One of the fun things, I don't know if you'll appreciate this or not, but in the story, Wonder Woman's in Vietnam, saving a village of women.
Yeah,
and Superman comes in to check it out, and she's crouched on a table when he comes in to this sort of hut where they're celebrating a victory. She gets off of the table and she's about 3 or 4 inches taller than Superman.
Oh yeah, no, I did that.
So Darwin Cook made her. He's she's an Amazon.
Yeah,
she should be taller than Superman. And I always liked that. I never thought about that, but it's basically going from the Golden Age to the Silver Age, and using the backdrop of the McCarthy hearings, and how that involved superheroes, and the Flash becoming the Flash. It fits in with their origins. You get a really good meaty Hal Jordan origin, and which all dovetails into Kennedy's speech about going to space in the New Frontier and stuff like that.
I think again, some of it was just it was a very sort of retro at a time where my comics, I wanted everything sort of updated, but also Kingdom Come, and then also I had read James Robinson's The Golden Age is a really, really good comic book story. It's a really hard comic book story, and I want to say I had read that around the time New Frontier was coming out, and I think I remember thinking I don't want to read anything that goes back and re-envisions it, because of the revisionism of it, where it's suddenly let's make everything dark and gritty. I like my Silver Age and Golden Age to kind of be, but that was 20 years ago. So now,
New Frontier does a cool thing. New Frontier does this cool thing where it's Batman's a holdover from the Golden Age.
Yeah,
and it explains why Batman goes from the black horns with the long black horns and the gray suit with the purple gloves, and how it gets into the yellow oval, bright blue, and gray costume. There's stuff in there like that. It's a really cool book. I highly recommend it. You were mentioning that you gravitated towards Green Lantern because there were Green Lanterns that were women.
Yep.
And I don't know if I think it was around the time that they were bringing the New 52 back in with, was it Convergence? But I don't know if you've read any Jessica Cruz books.
I think Jessica Cruz, I think she's part of why I lasted as long as I did in the New 52 Green Lantern, because I did like her. I feel like it was is it Simon Baz?
Yeah.
It was him, and then Jessica Cruz came in right before I left. Because, I just looked it up. Justice League 31. So she came in right when I was easing out. There's a new girl Green Lantern.
I'm going to bring her up. I'm going to bring her up for sure.
She's part of because her look, I was like, that's a Green Lantern. Because I recently got DC Comics Showcase presents a coloring book, and she's in it, and I'm like, who is this? And then I looked her up. I'm like, she's a Green Lantern. She's so cool.
Okay,
so that was part
of. If you haven't read Sam Humphrey's run on Green Lanterns, which is the Jessica and Simon book, it's really, really good.
Sam
it deals
Humphreys?
With sort of I think it's just called Green Lanterns, but it's got Simon and Jessica on the covers. I really, really found that really interesting because of Simon's sort of nationality and his roots, and then Jessica's trauma. There's a lot that they sort of come together in a it's not a romantic thing. It's we're two people who can probably benefit from having someone to be with, like a support system. So it's I really recommend that. Now, there was a DC off-print imprint called Young Animal, and I think it's Gerard Way did this thing called Young Animal, but there was a mini series called Far Sector, and that's where Jo comes in. Sojourner Mullen is her name, and it was a completely self-contained, I think 7, maybe it was 12. It was a completely self-contained story. If you read that, it's her very first appearance, so you'll get the origins kind of as you go. But it's very adult. It tackles a lot of things ripped from the headlines.
Yeah.
And I think it does it in a very, very sort of elegant way, I guess. It's really, really well written. The art is unbelievable.
She just looks so cool.
And she looks cool.
And I mean, I know that's, for some people that sounds really silly, but another part I think of my comic book fatigue, let's call it that. Like Jim Lee did a lot of the redesigns. Jim Lee, amazing artist, but he has very much a style. And this is part of, in the 90s, suddenly everyone, and post X-Men, suddenly every superhero costume looks kind of the same, even when it's different. Right. And that's sort of the thing. Well, Green Lantern is just sort of there. They're all Green Lantern. It's all going to kind of look this. I didn't realize she was a Green Lantern, though, until I was trying to figure out who she was from the coloring book, because she's got like the mask,
the visor, sort of,
it's almost Harlequin, like the second Harlequin, Marcy Cooper from Infinity Inc. It's almost got like that look to it, the way the mask is, and like the lantern symbol wasn't on her, and she's got like the shoulder pads and like the hair, like she just really. And then I was like, she's a Green Lantern. It was literally like when you're a kid, like she's a Green Lantern. That's really cool.
Like when the story starts, if I'm remembering it right, I want to read it again. I should read it again. But when the story starts, she's like from Earth, ends up like on the other side of the universe, and now has a Green Lantern ring.
Okay.
And she's dropped in on this planet that is just like overrun with like corrupt government, a drug issue, every single thing that was happening like in, let's say, 2016.
Yeah.
For example, is like laid out in this book.
Nice.
And it's a really, really interesting take on like a Green Lantern story, and I highly recommend. I don't remember how many issues it is. I don't think it was much more than 10, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's
Far Sector. Okay.
Far Sector is I think probably the best written Green Lantern book since Jeff Johns was out of the picture. And then so that would be the one thing where I said for you that would be the one to check out. I think you'll really enjoy it because it is a self-contained story.
It looks like there's DC has one of their compact comic editions for it.
Yeah, I kind of want to get one of those. I heard it's really cool. And then the last thing I guess I would highly recommend is the current run of Green Lantern with by Jeremy Adams. If you sort of liked what that feeling you got during the Jeff Johns era.
In the beginning where, well, I think, and that's kind of what, in the beginning it felt like he was rebuilding, right? Coast City is back.
Yeah.
Carol Ferris is back, but he was rebuilding it. But he just didn't do the, sometimes when people rebuild stuff, like suddenly characters just show back up and it's like, oh, we'll explain it later. Where he actually took time and energy and effort to rebuild it. So it felt like in those early days of his Green Lantern, especially, it was like he was always trying to leave more on the table than what was there before. Right. Like it was very hopeful, right? And Green Lantern should be a hopeful character. Green Lantern really doesn't work for me when it's gritty. Like I know everyone's like, well, the classic story with Green Arrow and Speedy was in Green Lantern, but at the same time, like that was a little gritty and a little of its time, but at the same time, that's a story of hope. Right. No matter how bad it is, Green Lantern is a hopeful. For me, most DC Comics characters are hopeful. Even Batman,
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm kind of anxious about the television show that's coming out.
Yeah,
is they keep saying it's like True Detective.
And
it should be like Green Lantern.
It should be,
and Tom King is involved with the show. So we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Because at one point I picked up, I think I can't even remember if maybe he was. No, it wasn't him writing Batman when I left. I can't remember who was writing. I think it was still Schneider, maybe. But I do remember when he started writing Batman, hearing that people really liked his Batman. And then all of a sudden, I guess it did so well that he started doing other books and those didn't work as well. I think, I don't know. Like, it's always weird when, and I think this is part of what happened with Jeff Johns eventually. Like, they put too many things under his purview. And I get there are people who like, say, Tom King. We'll use Tom King in this instance, who will follow him to any book. So, like, we need this book to sell a lot of copies. Let's put Tom King. I think we're also in a rage bait era where it's like people hate him enough that there are a lot of people who will buy the book and hate read it, which sort of guarantees the level of sales. So you've got the fanboys, you've got the hate readers. But those of us who just want a good story, that leaves us sort of out of the picture.
Right.
So
anyway, he did a Alan Scott story that people like. I could be wrong. I could be thinking of somebody else.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not
Scott
super.
Is a difficult character.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Earth One, Earth.
Yeah,
Earth One. Yeah, that was all.
Earth Two. Earth. Well, I mean, Alan Scott's a hard character because he's been around since the Golden Age, right? And his origin is different. He's a different Green Lantern. But then because everything merged, they had to find a way to tie him into Green Lantern to explain why he's Green Lantern despite not. And then, of course, once you start having to get all complicated like that, it just adds layers. I did like in the New 52, again, if they had the Earth 2 stories of the New 52 had stayed separate, if that had been a whole line, I would have stayed those a lot longer. I liked that they, sort of had him as a gay man, and I thought there was some real originality happening there in the Earth 2 book specifically, but it's a really, New 50, I Vampire was good. The Sword of Sorcery was okay, even though I didn't like how they revamped Amethyst. But that was at least an attempt at something different. So that was the one thing about New 52 that I think that's why I stuck around so long after not liking most of it, was because they were in the first year or two still trying new things, like, and they did Western comics again. There were war comics again. They were trying to, like, it just didn't work. So anyway, sorry.
I think for you, I think Far Sector is the way to go. If you're really itching to get into like a Green Lantern thing, I recommend this for everybody. But Far Sector is I think a really, really good book, top to bottom.
Well, she just, like I said, she looks cool.
Yeah,
characters should look cool, guys.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's all I have for you. It's been about an hour.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Probably get going.
Probably.
Let's do another plug for your channel.
Yeah.
So people can come find you.
Yeah. It is on YouTube, Retro Toy Princess. You should pull it up. If you find somebody coloring pages, that's me, or Star Wars toy videos. Or sometimes She-Ra, Princess of Power history videos. Those three things. There's a lot of color, and there's a lot of my main superhero stuff right now is DC stuff. There's a lot of Wonder Woman, some DC villain stuff, and then pretty soon, I think I get next Monday. Ironically, next Monday there will be a Batman coloring book video that drops. So yeah, there's comic book stuff if you like comic book stuff. There's toy stuff, all retro. So yeah, come check it out.
Yeah.
And then we will try to schedule, and let's tentatively, after I get to read Far Sector and it like sinks in, let's try to line up a time for me to come back. And
I have not done.
Like,
I've been wanting to do a Far Sector episode, so I think that might be the perfect reason to do one.
Yeah. So
and it would give me an excuse to reread it, because I really want to reread it. It's just I haven't. Cool. Thanks for joining me. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Yeah, I'm glad you came. It was a blast. It's a fun just to kick back and chat with people about Green Lantern, because like in real life, like aren't a whole ton of Green Lantern fans out there. So if anybody out there knows a Green Lantern fan, send them to the page. If you want to hear the story about the hat, join the membership, and then vote on the poll on when the show will happen, because I don't want to just do the show with nobody in the chat. I want the members to show up for that. It'll be a secret meeting. And then, other than that, do all the stuff, hit the bell icon, so you'll be notified if there's a last minute stream. Oh, you know what? This is like a new thing that YouTube's been doing. If you like my show, if you like this episode, hit the thumbs up, and it brings up that hype button. I guess, hype it. Like let's get this show hyped, because I wanna start like building this thing up enough to where WB will invite me to Lantern stuff, which sounds like it's happening after Supergirl instead of before Supergirl. So we have time. We have time to build this channel, and then I can get you any up-to-the-minute Green Lantern stuff out there, because I am the only streaming channel that's dedicated to just Green Lantern. There's other Green Lantern channels out there. There's other live stream channels out there, but no one's doing live streams for just Green Lantern.
That's so like, odd to me. Like
up to the, I think it's why the channel's been growing so much in the last couple months. Like with Superman and Guy Gardner, they've really been getting a lot more action. There's great shows out there like Mosaic Comics, where Dan does reviews. There's Lanterns Cast that does comic reviews a couple weeks after the books come out. There's the Green Lantern podcast, Will, and he does like news updates and stuff as they happen. But like I do live streams. Like I'm the only one. Like, so a week from today at 4:00 same time, Green Lantern Corps 10 comes out. Ooh. And I'll be reviewing that day with Vector. So it's kind of nice to be able to just like drop everything I'm doing for Green Lantern and hanging out here with everybody. So it's a lot of fun.
It's fun to to watch anyone in Vactor hang out and talk comics. So
Vactor is the best.
Yeah.
I love Vactor. Allison, stick around. I forgot to mention this before we went live, but just stick around after the Patreon roll, and we can say proper goodbyes backstage. Excellent. And then I'll say goodbye to everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining us. And as always, beware my podcast. It's Lantern's Life. Bye.